Hi there, this is David, and today I want to talk about a subject near and dear to my heart, and that is RPG collections. That is, a whole collection of RPGs that you can buy for the price of one game. And growing up with the NES and SNES, RPG collections really weren't a thing. It wasn't until the PlayStation era that we actually got RPG collections, and the first one that I got was the Final Fantasy Chronicles and Anthology, which gave us Final Fantasy 4 through 6, as well as Chrono Trigger for the PlayStation. Then Working Designs got into the mix too with their arc, the Lad Collection, and then on PS2 they also came out with a Growlancer collection as well. Nowadays, though, collections are like all over the place. We have plenty of them, like the .hack GU collection, we have the Langrisser 1 and 2, we have Kingdom Hearts collections. Over on the Switch, there's the collection of Mana, there's the Final Fantasy Pixel Remasters, there's a collection of Saga, there's all sorts of different collections, and today I want to talk about my favorite, best collections that I've ever bought. But first, let's have a word from our sponsor. This video is sponsored by Tower of Fantasy, which is celebrating its birthday right now. This is an anime-infused post-apocalyptic sci-fi shared open-world MMORPG title available for the PC and mobile. You can explore the world either solo or with your friends as you inspect ruins, fight super bosses, and discover unique backstories for your characters, as well as some super cool weapons. The 3.1 version update is now live with new maps, such as the Cloud Peak Manor, which showcases stunning Chinese aesthetics, complete with an autumnal atmosphere, which is really such an immersive and refreshing experience. There's also a new world boss, the Black Crow Dark Wretch, for you to challenge, as well as some new stories and new simulacrums, such as Ming Jing's, where you can learn about his story since departing Asperia. Right now, you can join in on the Domain 9's Jade Pavilion Fair, the biggest annual celebration in the region, where you can immerse yourself in the rich culture and vibrant atmosphere of Domain 9. As you enjoy various fun activities, and as part of the anniversary celebration, you can log in now to get rewards, including the Red Nucleus, special vouchers, and other in-game gifts, such as up to 73 draws, 1 Smart Servant, a full SSR Matrix set, 15 limited extrinsic rewards, and more for free. So, if you're as excited about the game as I am, simply download it through the link in the video description because Tower of Fantasy is free to play. And now with that, let's get on to the 10 best RPG collections. First up, the Lad Trilogy released for the PlayStation. Man, I loved Working Designs back in the 90s. Here, we got a boxed set of 3 games plus a bonus arena game and a hardcover manual as well as other little trinkets. It was just the best. These games are strategy RPGs in the same vein as something like Final Fantasy Tactics, except instead of employing a job class system, all of your party members already have predetermined roles. The first game is rather short, lasting about 10 or so hours, but the second and third are much longer, easily lasting 40 to 60 hours because of the inclusion of the guild system, which allows for endless exploration and side quests. What's nice about the series is that all the games take place in the same world and in roughly the same time period, so characters from the first game will not only make cameo appearances throughout, but also join up with your heroes. This truly made me feel immersed into the world and actually care about its inhabitants. Number 2, Growlancer Generations, released for the PlayStation 2. There are 6 total Growlancer games and all of them are great, but here you get 2 games for the price of 1. Most of them weren't localized, but I am forever grateful for the ones that we did get, especially with great handling from the aforementioned Working Designs, who stepped in and localized the original PlayStation games here for the PS2. This is a compilation of the second and third games, which utilizes real-time strategy, similar to something like Diofield Chronicle. The ring weapon system allows for tons of customization, and central to the plot is the dating mechanic, where your love interest changes based upon your choices. You can get different endings depending on which girl you choose to romance in both games. Number 3, Final Fantasy IV The Complete Collection, released for the PSP. This was the system seller for me. I mean, I grew up on Final Fantasy IV, and it was one of the most traditional games in the series, and I absolutely fell in love with the story as well as the world. But this collection doesn't just include that first game along with improved visuals, it also includes the after years fully released in a non-episodic format, and a smaller intergrade too, tying the 2 games together. My first time playing the after years was over on the WiiWare, but I didn't finish it there. But here I was actually able to finish it so I could fully appreciate the story that my favorite characters had to endure. But man, what I wouldn't give for a similar treatment for 5. Maybe have like a prequel following the Dawn Warriors, or give 6 that after years treatment too, following the hero's descendants through the new world dealing with the aftermath of magic leaving the planet. Number 4. Tales of Symphonia Chronicles, released for the PS3. I will never understand Bamco's fascination with this particular entry. They seem to have latched onto it and they just want to remake it every single console generation, but it also seems that each time that they do remake it, they just make it worse. However, that wasn't the case back on the PS3 when they first really remade it, because not only did you get the best version of Symphonia, including all of the additions that were put into the PS2 Director's Cut version, but it also came bundled together with the sequel, which was originally released on the Nintendo Wii. Not only was that one upscaled, but they took out all those god-awful motion controls that were in the original game too. Nowadays though, every time that they remake it, they only redo the first game and then they make it worse, but this one was definitely the definitive version, and it still holds up today. Let's just hope that we finally get those unreleased Tales games brought over here that we missed out on all those years ago. Number 5. Grandia 1 and 2 HD Collection, released for the Nintendo Switch and PC. These two games were some of the best RPGs on their respective systems. Both of them were a masterclass in world building, character development, and fun, fast-paced combat. These are those kind of games that just ooze personality and charm. From the main characters, to the graphics, to the scenery, and even the villains. Everyone and everything is just so lovingly crafted. It's amazing that the series just kind of abruptly ended with the dawn of the HD era. Encounters appear on screen and execute in active time. Each character and monster appears on a turn gauge, where you have the opportunity to either inflict more damage with a quick combo, or attempt to cancel an enemy's turn with a critical hit. The leveling system is comprehensive, and if you want a charming jaunt filled with adorable characters, then look no further than this collection. Number 6. Collection of Mana, released for the Nintendo Switch. The Mana series has a long and storied history, and unfortunately, the vast majority of the games in the series just aren't that good. But I still count it as among my favorites simply because I did grow up on it, and the games that I grew up on are the absolute best in the series. Specifically, the first 3 games which are included here in this collection. To begin with, you have the classic Game Boy action RPG, Final Fantasy Adventure, which is where the Mana series started off at. It's kind of a weird conglomeration of Mana and Final Fantasy because they were still kind of like figuring it all out. A much more well-known game, The Secret of Mana, is the second game in the series and more than likely the most well-known and popular game. And it's here that many of the staples of the series that we know of were implemented. And finally, that Super Famicom gem, Seiken Densetsu 3, later localized as Trials of Mana, is here officially translated for the first time. If you were looking for some light-hearted, fun action RPGs that you could just lose yourself in, you really can't go wrong with this. Number 7. Dragon Quest XI S Definitive Edition, released for the PS4, Switch, Xbox, and PC. It's no big secret that Dragon Quest is my favorite series of all time. There are just so many good ones, and the most recent entry is especially good, with amazing characters, a massive world to explore, on foot or by riding monsters, fantastic voice acting, great turn-based battles, and a refined weapon tree system. Dragon Quest knows that if it's not broke, you don't fix it. But here, the S Edition includes a whole new game mode where you can play it in 2D, and there it does cut out the voice acting and some various cutscenes, but it pretty much turns it into an SNES game, so it is an entirely different experience, and it really does move along at a much faster clip. While the dungeon might take you upwards of like 30 minutes in 3D mode, you could really just zip through it in like 10 minutes in 2D mode. It just reminds me of simpler times and the games that I grew up with back on the NES and SNES. Number 8. The Kingdom Hearts All-in-One Package, released for the PS4. Gosh, Kingdom Hearts really kind of exploded in popularity right from the get-go. I remember when it was first announced and people used to joke about it on the Game FAQ's board. They would talk about Mickey Mouse getting stabbed through the heart by Sephiroth, and it was really just seen like a big old joke and something bound to fail. But boy, were they all wrong. There's like a bajillion games now out in the series on tons of different platforms, and it's super hard to keep up with which games came first, what system they're for, and what order to play them all in. It's just so convoluted it could just make your head spin. But thankfully, there is an entire collection of all the Kingdom Hearts games together in one package where you can sit yourself down in front of one console and play through the entire series in close enough succession that you could maybe make heads or tails of all the ridiculous storylines and plot points. But I wouldn't hold my breath there. The more that you try to think about the plot, the more you're just going to drive yourself crazy. So instead, just enjoy the games for the stellar action RPGs that they are. Number 9. Collection of Saga, released for the Nintendo Switch and PC. Similar to the Collection of Mana, the Saga series is another long-running franchise, but again, I don't exactly like many of those later entries. However, the first 3 games are fabulous and some of the best RPGs ever made. First released on the Game Boy as the Final Fantasy Legends series here in America, they constitute the first 3 games in the Saga series, and they have a ton of replay value. The first 2 games allow you to choose your party members from humans, mutants, monsters, and in the second game, robots, as you go through multiple worlds, solving their problems, and defeating gods along the way. The third game, though, is a radical departure from the rest, and actually developed by the same team that created Final Fantasy Mystic Quest. As such, it plays much more traditionally with 4 party members who can change forms by eating meat or installing parts. And instead of going from world to world, you now soar through time and space to save the world from the Pure Land water entity and the fickle gods raining terror across the land. And finally, number 10, the Final Fantasy Pixel Remasters, released for the Nintendo Switch, PS4, and PC. I am aware, and I know that the thing du jour today is to bitch, whine, and moan and complain about Final Fantasy. We're all guilty of it. I mean, even me. But one thing that I really can't complain about is getting 6 games all packed together in one cartridge for the price of how much one of these games used to cost back in the day. This is just the deal to beat all deals. Here you get remasters of Final Fantasy 1 through 6 with added quality of life improvements such as increased battle speeds, rebalancing, and the console versions, you get the ability to turn off or turn down encounters, increase the amount of experience and gold that you earn, or even help with the job point grinding in 3 and 5, or grinding up that magicite in 6. Not to mention helping with the stat gains over on in 2. Even if you're a super fan like me who's played all the games in the series multiple times already, experiencing them now with a new coat of paint and new quality of life features just makes it so much better. So that's it for the 10 best 10 out of 10 RPG collections. Did I miss any? Let me know what your favorites are, and let's get a discussion going on here, and let's all talk and chat about it, because I'm always here in the comments too. And if you like what I do here on the channel, please head on over to the Patreon to sign up for early access to my videos and behind the scenes photographs. The link to it is over in the video description. And as always, please like, comment, and subscribe, and have a good day.